My name's Bullen. Lieb. Oh, we won't do this. This is my review of No Time to Die, the latest Bond film, and why I hated it. First, let me explain that I consider myself a big Bond buff, and I'm a particular fan of the Daniel Craig series. Every film I have absolutely loved. I count Casino Royale as my absolute fave of all faves, slightly above Goldfinger, and I was looking forward to this final instalment of his portrayal of Bond for years, literally, because as we know, it was delayed and delayed because of political decisions on a global scale. As we know, this was the big Daniel Craig send-off, so I was expecting some sort of farewell message, some sort of liberty taking, perhaps with storyline and character portrayal, but quite what we got, I still can't believe. I should point out that I've watched this 3 times now, so it's not like I watched it once and it's been out for a while. I'm going to let all the spoilers out now, and I'm going to work under the presumption that everyone's seen it, and just get straight into why this did not feel like a Bond film for me, and why I consider it the worst of the entire franchise, even worse than those late Roger Moore films. First, we'll get into this in more detail, but I think the film broke 3 cardinal sins that you just don't do in a Bond film. The most famous one is we see Bond killed on screen in this film. I'm sorry, whose decision was that?
Shocking. Positively shocking.
Don't you think a much more interesting ending would have been for Madeleine to have been killed and for Bond to walk off into the sunset with his daughter? The second cardinal sin broken, which ties in with the woke thing. We don't see Bond doing any bonking. He wakes up in 2 scenes next to Madeleine because there's the whole love story thing going on. But there are 3 young, strong female characters. And no rompy pompy for Bond in this film. He very much the love story is continued, and then even when he's single for years in Jamaica, he's on his own. You see him on his own now. He's pining for his love. This is a Bond film.
Where did you go to? Tell me.
Where was there? Oh, Mr. Bond. There's none of it. And the third cardinal sin I think they broke was this softening of Bond. Because if you want to spend 3 hours watching him being remorseful, apologetic, loving, this is the film for you. And I don't mind that in movies, but this is a Bond film. And it's a Daniel Craig Bond film. And he's been a tough nut at this. Not for me.
I have loved you. And I will love you.
And 2 key Bond elements were awful in this. And I'm talking about the theme song. Awful. And the villain. Now Rami Malek, he can play the shit out of Freddie Mercury, but I don't know what that was in this film. And also the writing of it was very bad, the whole backstory. I don't know why they didn't do a continuation of Spectre, to be honest, but instead they just conveniently killed Spectre off quite early on and made it all about this, his name, something ridiculous, Lucifer kind of implied. Just, I think, to beef him up a bit, like with the Jason from Halloween mask. So the film starts with the evil villain being introduced, with a young Madeleine, and then goes to the continuation of the love story from Spectre, with Bond and Madeleine in Italy. Now the opening sequence, when the action kicks in, is actually superb. The stunts, the nods to past films, really well done. But that's as good as it gets. After that comes in the awful theme song. Now I get I'm probably not the market for Billie Eilish, and I get the cuteness of making okay pop songs at home, but I don't get the superstardom, and I don't get the commissioning for a Bond song. And then we get straight into the contrived nanobot storyline, which the less said the better, I think. Now I want to talk about the female characters. Madeleine, of course, was always going to come in, no problem there. They introduce a daughter. I have no problem with that storyline either, and I've already mentioned what I think the ending could have been with that, which would have been a much better send-off. Then there was the Anna de Armas character, which was genuinely interesting, but in it for about 5 minutes. And then there was the alternative 007 female character. As any writer will know, if you've got a character that you can just remove straight out of the film and it doesn't affect plot line in any way or story, it's a superfluous character, not needed. And this character, that applies to. You can literally remove her out of the film and it doesn't change the storyline in any way or any of the threads. I personally believe she was there to add a bit of humour with this 007 thing, which I don't think worked. This joke between them, this tug of war between the number. I thought that was a bit contrived, to be honest, and she ticks the woke boxes, and I think that's why she was there, to be honest with you. Not that I got anything against this actress, I thought she was very good, or at least had an interesting look, and I would like to have seen her play the villain, personally, given how bad the Rami Malek character was. Now, I don't know if women can play villains today in the climate, but I could easily see her playing a kick-ass villain. Now, I don't know if that was by the director Fukunaga, who famously said that Sean Connery's brilliant, iconic Bond was basically a rapist. I don't know how he got the job, but anyway. It would be interesting to know how the writing and production was done in the early stages of this, because you have Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, who have written every Bond film since the last 2 Pierce Brosnan ones. And I imagine the whole nanobot storyline might have stemmed from initial drafts that they come up with. At some point, Fukunaga's come in with his woke ideas, and then at a later stage, Phoebe Waller-Bridge has come in and tried to insert some humour. The humour didn't work in this though for me, like the 007 tug of war. Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks.
And the film meanders on for nearly 3 hours, and we get to the famous ending, which includes Bond being killed on screen. I think that's the biggest no-no in the whole franchise. I mean, we've had writers and producers perhaps stretching things before. I remember the Timothy Dalton Bond in the 80s was a little bit on the PC side. There was a whole discussion then about how many women he should be bedding on screen and all that kind of thing. And they went a bit wimpy for a while. I'm glad they toughened him up for License to Kill, which is quite an underrated Bond film. But killing Bond on screen, they just crossed a huge line there. Wow, what the Fukunaga. Now, I understand the producers are thinking about getting this director back. I understand the producers are thinking about going even woker with the next Bond. Please don't. We always want to see some different things, like how they brought Daniel Craig in and toughened him up and made a really gritty kind of Bond, which really worked for the time. Casino Royale was and still is just a fantastic film and stands out as a really brilliant Bond film. But don't go crossing lines. Don't go smashing the formula into pieces. And that's all I have to say on the matter.